So today we're talking about a lesser known house in Westeros, House Reed. They are a noble house and they are located at Greywater Watch, which is in the middle of this bog, this swamp, at the southern border of the north. House Reed and the people who live in these swamps are known as the crannogmen. The reason for this is that they build their homes, their halls, they build it all on these small floating islands in the middle of a swamp. According to the World of Ice and Fire, the crannogmen are known to be small, sly and secretive. Not a lot is known about them. The rumour is that they have ancient ties to the children of the forest, because legend has it that the children of the forest created this swampy area because they were using this thing called the Hammer of the Waters to try and sever the north from the rest of Westeros. They did this before with Dawn. Dawn used to be connected to Essos, and one of the stories is it was a natural disaster, and the other story is it was magic at play to sever the land to stop the invasion coming over to Westeros. Back in the day, this area was ruled by the Marsh King, but he was killed by King Rickard Stark, who was called the Laughing Wolf in the North for his good nature, and the crannogmen bent their knees, accepted the dominion of Winterfell, and in the centuries since, the crannogmen have become stout allies of the Starks, under the leadership of the Reeds of Greywater Watch. The Reeds that we know a bit about, let's talk about them. The first one is Howland Reed, and then there's his two children, Mira and Jojen. Back in the day, Howland Reed was very close allies with Ned Stark. In fact, he was there at the Tower of Joy when all of this drama went down. And Howland Reed and Ned Stark were the only two people to survive this whole fracas. Howland had to prize Ned away from Lyanna. He knows more than anybody alive. Howland Reed, seemingly he's taken his secrets with him and gone back home to Greywater Watch, and he's not left there since. I don't really blame him. In a very short space of time, Howland Reed, he'd had his fill of drama, put it that way. He'd been involved in an altercation at the tourney of Harrenhal. It was a whole thing. He was getting picked on. Then before you know it, war breaks out and off he goes, and he's involved in the thick of the action. I don't blame him for going, I'm off home, leave me be. And he's allegedly never left ever since. Now, Mira Reed describes that at Greywater Watch, they didn't have a whole lot of anything. They didn't have a maester, they didn't have anyone to teach them swordcraft. Her father taught them how to wield a sword. Mira says that her father was the epitome of the crannogmen. He would hunt and fish and all that kind of stuff, very at one with nature. Now that could be a nod to something deeper, something more magical, because Howland realises that his son Jojen has this extra special ability. He says it's not green sight, but it's something. And coincidentally, Howland Reed is one of the few people we know to have visited the Isle of Faces where the Green Men reside. No one goes to the Isle of Faces. I can think of two people. The story goes, Howland Reed stayed at the Isle of Faces for a winter, conversing with the Green Men, and then by springtime he was like, I better make some moves. So he gets in his boat and he sails across the God's Eye Lake and he goes to Harrenhal, which is right there. And that is where they are hosting the tourney of Harrenhal. I am going to be doing a full-length video all about the tourney of Harrenhal. Like, I'm going to try and cram every little bit of detail in, so it might be a long one. In that video, I'll discuss a little bit more about Howland's involvement, but he was there. Then after the tourney, Lyanna and Rhaegar go missing, Robert's rebellion starts, and House Reed answers the call. Howland goes off to join Ned. Apparently, Howland saved Ned's life from the legendary Sir Arthur Dayne. Oh my God, what we would give for a Howland Reed POV. It ain't gonna happen, but I would love it because he's like the keeper of the secrets. But as I say, he's not left Greywater Watch, which by the way, because it's in a swamp, it kind of moves around. When Mira is telling Bran all about her home, Bran is like, how can a castle move? It's in a swamp. When the War of the Five Kings breaks out, Howland sends Jojen and Mira to Winterfell. He's like, go reaffirm our loyalty to the Starks, and they do that. Then when Winterfell falls to Theon Greyjoy, Mira and Jojen, they end up going off with Bran, and that's pretty much where their storyline is centred. But my question is, what is Howland Reed doing? What is he up to? What does he know? What knowledge does he have that could be beneficial? What is the connection between the green men, the children of the forest, and the crannogmen? Like, it feels like they're all connected in some way, but we don't have the full picture yet. He had to go to the Isle of Faces for a reason. It wasn't random. Now, when it comes to Jojen and Mira, they are both still alive in the books, kind of. It's kind of confusing because Mira is there, but Jojen has kind of turned into a paste. Jojen paste is a thing that is fed to Bran to kind of stimulate the magic within. It's all very weird. We don't have a POV from Mira or Jojen Reed. And I'd kind of love that as well, because I feel like they know more than they're letting on. They are there to help and support Bran. They're off on the journey with Bran, like living in the wilderness. But there's something about these crannogmen. There's just something to them. How has Howland remained undetected all these years? I think there's some magic in those swamps. And what is he doing? Is he just retired? Just sitting there with his feet up? Or is there more to this? That's the real mystery of House Reed.